Welcome to the Bold Analysis. My name is Frank. The kind of violence that was unleashed by some members of the National Police Service on peaceful, unharmed demonstrators is something that is now taking a serious twist and a serious turn of events, especially following the death, after of course being shot allegedly by a member of the police service, of the young man Rex, whose news is currently trending and whose body is currently lying at the city mortuary, has exposed how badly our members of the National Police Service usually take matters into their hands whenever citizens come out to express their rights and interests that they wish to be addressed by various leaders. The Constitution, as a matter of fact, guarantees citizens the right to petition, demonstrate, assemble without being limited. Whatever they should do is just notify the police to provide security, not to accept the demonstrations or picketing. The Constitution itself, under Article 1, gives sovereignty and power to the people of Kenya. So, it is surprising that in this century and year, some members of the service still find it. This is something that is very awkward, to meet protesters who are unarmed with some kind of violence and anger that cannot be explained. Yesterday, we were following closely on the demonstrations that was happening, and of particular interest to me was the kind of violence that some members of the police decided to unleash on these members, and especially bearing in mind that these are just young citizens who have come out to express how exactly they feel that their lives are going to be impacted by certain legislations or legislative agenda that are being taken that are not popular with the masses. So, of course, there were also reports of how police shot demonstrators in other areas like Kisumu, where somebody was injured after being shot on the leg and another one was injured in the scuffle in the same event and venue by members of the police service. Also yesterday in Nairobi, it was an ugly scene where an international journalist was actually also injured by a gunshot that was fired by a member of the police. So, where does it place our country in terms of the international global, or in terms of the global map? Today, of course, members of the opposition led by Kalonzo Musyoka have released a very bold and authoritative press release and statement calling for the resignation of the Inspector General of Police, IG Japheth Koome rather, and of course the Police Commandant of Nairobi, Mr. Adamson Bungei. Here is the speech of the Wiper leader with other opposition leaders in Nairobi today.
Police killing of 19-year-old Rex Kanyike Masai. Our solidarity with Gen Z and rejection of Kenya Kwanza's Finance Bill 2024. Thank you, members of the media, for honoring our invitation. Early this morning, we received the dreaded phone call informing us that Kenyan police had shot and killed 19-year-old Rex Kanyike Masai for exercising his constitutional right under Article 37 of our Constitution. It provides the right to peaceably and unarmed assemble, demonstrate, and picket. In a strongly worded statement, the African Union also reminded the Kenyan government that the right to peaceably protest is enshrined under Article 11 of the African Charter and must be respected. Rex, along with hundreds of thousands of other members of Generation Z, had assembled in Nairobi streets. He braved the cold front to hold up a placard and join in a protest song against the Kenya Kwanza regime. Rex, like all his comrades, was peaceful, unarmed, and non-violent, but was senselessly gunned down by a police bullet. This is a tragic event with far-reaching consequences. Our coalition is extremely disturbed by Rex's fatal shooting. We have far too many memories of these tragedies, and our thoughts and prayers are with his family, with his friends, and the community that has suffered such a terrible loss. We stand with Rex, his family, and his comrades. We pledge to offer all our help required in seeking answers and justice. We demand that these perpetrators of police brutality be arrested and charged with murder before a court of law. Fellow Kenyans, it is evident that there is a big problem with our security officers, as these tragic shootings are not isolated events. Not long ago, when Kenyans marched for Maandamano, 75 people were killed because certain police officers opted to fire live bullets into peaceful crowds. This is a return of a police force instead of a police service, contrary to our constitution. Despite the publicly recorded crimes, the murders of the 75 victims are yet to be investigated and the perpetrators brought to justice. We have not forgotten, and we will never forget. As Azimio, and on behalf of the people, we demand that Inspector General Japheth Kome and Nairobi Regional Commander Mr. Adamson Bunge immediately tender their resignations for failing to protect the peaceful demonstrators. We also demand that the Director of Public Prosecution bring charges against Kome, Bunge, and their rogue officers for the murders of Rex and the 75. All Kenyans' lives matter, and our police service just know that one day you'll be held accountable for all their lives lost. We further demand that all protesters detained illegally by state security agencies be released immediately and unconditionally. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, June the 20th, 2024, 115 members of the National Assembly voted to reject the Finance Bill 2024. They stood in solidarity with the majority of Kenyans who have used all platforms available to categorically say no to the punitive and irredeemable bill. A number of them are here with us, and we congratulate you, Weshmiwa, and our coalition honors their contribution on the floor of the august house. It did not go unnoticed. You are indeed the patriots. Inexplicably, the other 204 MPs stood against the nation. They are the traitors and the exemplification of the biggest betrayal to Kenyans. Not cloud chasers, concerned with growing their TikTok numbers, as alleged by the Kenya Kwanza regime and its sympathizers. Their images have not been photoshopped or generated by AI. The Gen Z on the streets are your authentic constituents. Zakayo, your employers have said enough is enough. They want you to go home today and now, not on August 10, 2027. Fellow Kenyans, this is the Kenyan Spring, courtesy Gen Z. We are witnessing an organic and tribeless collective gathering of our youth who are tired of KK's wealth of bottomless lies, corruption, and disdain. Hour by hour, their numbers grow. This is a significant turning point in the history of our nation, comparable to Sabasaba Day. We note that Kenyan Gen Zs are issue-driven and non-violent. They demand transparency from authorities and institutions. Despite their young age, they are politically engaged and eager to participate in civic activities. We say, quote unquote, musilale bado mapambano. Ladies and gentlemen, the grounds for the recall of the 2004 and the impeachment of Zakayo have never been clearer and more pressing. As Azimio, we have started the process. Let us do it for Rex and the fallen 75, and all those Kenyans suffering because of this betrayal of public trust. Azimio stands in solidarity with Gen Z and all aggrieved Kenyans in pursuit of social and economic justice. We will continue agitating for these changes through Parliament, courts, and on the streets until Zakayo comes down. Gen Z is watching. Kenya is watching, and so is the world. God bless Kenya.
The President and the over 200 members of Parliament has all been clear and also said that as Azimio, you have started the process. Will you kindly be clear on it? Is it to mean that you would start, or you have started, an impeachment process against President William Ruto?
By the way, some of our colleagues would have been here, like Mheshimiwa Jeremiah Kioni, Jubilee Secretary General, our Sister Martha Karua, already in Nakuru, with the Limuru 3 deliberations, so they will be saying similar stuff. Edwin Sifuna, Mheshimiwa Sifuna was here before, and he has had to rush to the city mortuary to confirm this news about Rex. You will recall that during our last press conference, he actually said, as Secretary General of ODM, they had sent out letters to all their members. And we recognize some of the members of ODM, like member for, I think, Kibra, actually heeded that call and voted no. Langata, member for Langata, Mheshimiwa Jalamo. Those others, and we have 3 in Wiper, we're obviously going to start that process ourselves. We have the case of member for Taveta.
That is a very bold move and position by the opposition, and it indeed elicits mixed reactions, and especially you try to get emotional following closely through the report that they are detailing on the unfortunate events that happened yesterday. So from the speech, it clearly shows that instances of extrajudicial killings are still things that are just perpetuated left, right, and center without care. Despite the president promising when he was getting into office that such instances of extrajudicial killings are going to be things of the past, but everybody and even those in government are silent on this. I was even surprised that even the police has not given a speech on this or a report on this on whatever transpired yesterday. Of course, there were reports that after this young man was shot, some members of the public tried to access the scene where he was shot in order to rush him to the hospital, but members of the police refused to grant them permission to lift the boy to the nearest hospital in order to save him. So most definitely, having been shot on the leg, it can be likely concluded that he succumbed due to excessive bleeding. This also shows that the level of police impunity in this country still takes us miles back. We are not yet a free state as we purport to be. It seems like we are still back in the deep colonial days where police would not be held accountable for their actions. Of course, the officer who is alleged to have shot that man was captured by some CCTV cameras and some cameras, of course. And now members of the public are calling for the immediate arrest of this police officer. And even despite all this, you know, these actions that they were doing yesterday, trying to limit protesters in order to not to access certain areas, all these were seen to be exercises in futility, because at the end of the day, the message was home that indeed whatever you're trying to bring to us or trying to force down our throats is that it is not popular with the masses and the masses are not for it. And of course, of particular interest was the silence by the international community on this. You know, usually when there are such protests in Kenya, the international community always comment on this and they always criticize such elements of excessive use of police force. And yesterday was a dark day, I can label it that way, because save only for the African Union, which echoed and released a statement warning members of the police and the Kenyan government that indeed protesters have a right to protest under even the principles of the African Union. And in what position does it paint the image of the government that now they are fronting for maybe a candidate of their own to be the chairpersonship of AUC? And here, we are abusing the rights of our citizens in the country. And even the expected police deployment in Haiti, the people outside there are crying that that deployment, when it's going to be done, then it is likely that the rights of the citizens in the Republic of Haiti are going to be abused by the members of the police. If they can do that here at their home, where the masses were parading or were castigating or were demanding for rights that equally favor them, what prevents them from abusing the rights of people who are not related to them in any way? It indeed portrays the image of the police and the government in bad light, in terms of communication-wise, and even in terms of presentation-wise. Yes, it doesn't paint a clear picture. Also today, the news that we are still following on is that of comedian turned activist Eric Omondi, who has been arrested this afternoon while he was trying to protest near Parliament buildings today. And you can see the kind of violence that was met on him, even being dragged from the back of a horse and being rained on with canes. It is not something that is clearly portraying the good image of this government. Of course, within the same press briefing, the opposition leaders also did take notice of some members of the opposition who went against the wishes of their parties and voted yes for the unpopular finance bill. And of course, a party, for example, like Wiper, has promised to take immediate action for the 3 members of parliament who voted yes for the finance bill. And even still on this, there was a video yesterday of some young gentleman who was allegedly being arrested by a police officer. And the man fell onto the ground crying that amenifinya sehemu zangu za siri. The man was pressed on his genitals, and from the video at first, you could think that he was trying to pull up something else, but then it was serious. Later, the man was rushed to Kenyatta National Hospital. It's indeed a sad story. And the news that are reaching us, that we're still following up on, is that the man is said to have succumbed to the injuries. It is that sad. Thank you for watching. My name is Frank.